Despite doing well at Sheffield Wednesday, Harry Amass is set to be on the move tomorrow. Toby Collier also has a loan move sorted, it seems. Ndidi has been linked to Manchester United, apparently as maybe a secret midfield target, but it looks unlikely that United are going to pursue that deal. We spoke about the Cole Palmer links and rumours earlier on in my live show. I'm going to get all the information up. As Manchester United are preparing for life without Bruno Fernandes, they want Bruno Fernandes to stay another year, but they are looking at what to do if Bruno doesn't stay another year, and Cole Palmer is top of that list. Ruben Neves, apparently Manchester United open to bringing in Ruben Neves for 15 to 20 million pounds. Ruben Loftus-Cheek is looking unlikely, according to Fabrizio Romano. Updates on the academy and how Amran treated the academy, and United are in for a new left back, but he might be about to go elsewhere. Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news, update, roundup show, where I'm going to round up all the latest Manchester United news for you guys in the next 10 minutes. Let's get right into it by starting about the loan moves. So the first source to speak on this was this source at CJ Southwell 1902, and they said that Norwich City are closing in on a loan deal for Manchester United left-back Harry Amass. This has now been confirmed by the very credible Laurie Whitwell and MJ Critchley of The Athletic, who said Harry Amass is set to join Norwich City on loan and Toby Collier is set to join Hull City on loan. Both deals are until the end of the season and could happen tomorrow. So Harry Amass has been fantastic for Sheffield Wednesday in the Championship. I'm pretty sure he's won their Player of the Month 2 or 3 times this season, but I think United have decided, despite him doing well and it going very well there, it's probably not the environment they want Harry Amass in. They are bottom with -7 points. There's a lot of unhappiness there. Apparently, certain players aren't being paid. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's a bit of a toxic environment. And I have to say, the fact that Harry Amass is thriving in that toxic environment, credit to him. There's one thing being a youngster that's good, and there's another thing being a youngster that's good and thrives in a toxic environment. And I think we haven't helped a lot of our youngsters in the past because I think United has at times been a toxic environment. So you've got to give credit to Harry Amass for thriving in a toxic environment. But I think United want to put him in a better environment, and I wouldn't see Norwich City that much better. Norwich City are 20th in the Championship, but they're more than good enough to stay up, I think. Sheffield Wednesday's going down. Sheffield Wednesday have only won 1 game. Norwich City have won 8 games this season. It would be just maybe a more beneficial move for Harry Amass to play for a team that's maybe a little bit more sustainable, see how he does in a different environment. Toby Collier was at West Brom and then he got injured. West Brom are 19th, and I honestly think West Brom could go down. They've lost 4 games in a row. And he's now going to Hull City, who are 4th in the Championship. So it'll be interesting to see how Toby Collier does for a better side. But that's 2 good Championship loans for 2 of our highest rated academy prospects. And I always think a Championship loan is a really good loan. We saw Ahmad at Sunderland. I think if you're very young and you can do it in the Championship, it says to me when you get older, you'll be good enough for the Premier League. That doesn't necessarily mean you'll be good enough for Man United, but you could be good enough for the Premier League. I don't know right now if Harry Amass is going to be an Everton player or a Man United player. I think Harry Amass will be a Premier League player, but we don't know what level yet. But he's doing very well in the Championship. Let's continue into the midfield news. Man United have been offered Nigerian international Wilfred Ndidi from Besiktas on loan, but are not pursuing a deal for the former Leicester City midfielder as it stands. Manchester United have been offered Nigerian international Wilfred Ndidi from Besiktas on loan, but are not pursuing a deal for the former Leicester City midfielder as it stands, was said by Simon Jones of the Daily Mail. And yeah, fair. I don't think he's good enough. I would have taken him a few years back, but right now, not good enough. Talking to someone that hasn't a great season, has had a few injury issues, but probably is good enough. And I think if someone said to me, how would you replace Bruno Fernandes? They'd probably say Cole Palmer and Bruno Guimaraes. Bruno Guimaraes has got that personality and a little bit that creativity, but from deeper, and Cole Palmer has that creativity from further up. But that's not going to happen. I don't think we get one of them, let alone both. I think Bruno Guimaraes loves Newcastle too much. I think he would only go abroad. But there is obviously reports coming out. Boyhood Manchester United fan Cole Palmer does not particularly enjoy life in London and misses his friends back home in Manchester. This was said by Dan King, and this is going round from The Sun. The Sun aren't credible. What I think has happened here is Cole Palmer has not looked happy at Chelsea. I don't think he's happy with Bluco and Maresca being sacked. I think, Cole Palmer's had a lot of injury issues. There is talk that Chelsea actually might be willing to cash in on him because they're fed up with his injury issues. He's not looked particularly happy at Chelsea, didn't celebrate his goal the other day, struggled this season, and there's a feeling that Cole Palmer isn't happy. So I think the media has jumped on that out of guesswork and just went, yeah, he wants to go back to Manchester. He might, but I think it's probably more guesswork. He's also on a ridiculously long contract. I think for Chelsea to look at selling Cole Palmer, he probably has to barely play between now and the end of the season through injuries, and then maybe Chelsea go, we could get a bit of money for Cole Palmer. They now see Estevao as potentially a brighter talent. I think there's a possibility. I think if we get Champions League football and Chelsea don't, and Bruno Fernandes does leave, there is a possibility of a Cole Palmer coming to United, but I don't see it happening this summer. I could see it happening maybe next summer at the earliest if Chelsea have a poor season and Cole Palmer's out of form. But then again, do we want Cole Palmer because he's out of form? We want Cole Palmer in form at the top of his game. I think Cole Palmer will be a fantastic Bruno replacement. But yeah, it's just one to watch with his injury issues. And I honestly think he'll be at Chelsea for the rest of his career with that contract. But he isn't in the squad, which suggests he's probably injured again. And you might be asking why I'm talking about Cole Palmer. Because he's seen as the Bruno replacement, and we don't know if Bruno's going to stay. Man United plan talks with Bruno about his future before the World Cup. Club want to keep Bruno for at least one more year. Bruno has said he won't decide until after the tournament, but United want clarity. If Bruno leaves, United would need to replace him, was said by Rob Dawson. So there's a feeling Bruno could leave at the end of the season. He's got his 56 million release clause, and that's active to clubs outside the Premier League. Bayern Munich are interested. Apparently Real Madrid are having a sniff, but that's not been confirmed by anyone credible. And Bruno's going to look at Bayern Munich, Real Madrid look at him and think, this is a chance to win a big trophy. He deserves a big trophy. He's too good to have not won a big trophy. So Bruno may look to leave Man United because I think some big clubs will be looking at that 56 million release clause and thinking, I know he's 32, but this guy's mint. Man United want to keep Bruno for at least one more year. Imagine being a new manager coming in and you have to deal with Man United about Bruno Fernandes. Your job is 10 times harder than the managers before you, and it's not an easy job to begin with. But Bruno said he's not going to decide till after the World Cup. So United are trying to get some clarity before the World Cup so they can plan for life without Bruno, because we already need 2 midfielders. We'll definitely need 3 if Bruno leaves in a more attacking midfielder. United want to look at potentially replacing Bruno because they think he might leave, but Bruno hasn't given a decision. I'm going to tell you why Bruno hasn't given a decision. I think it depends if we're in the Champions League or not next season. I think if we get Champions League football, we can convince Bruno to stay. And if we look like we're on the up, we can convince Bruno to stay. If we don't, I think he's a goner. Continuing on into one of Bruno's friends, Ruben Neves. Man United would be willing to spend 17 million to sign Ruben Neves in January. I'm not against that, depending on the wages. If his wages are high, then I am against it a little bit. But if the wages are low, not against that. His wages are high in Saudi, but he's probably willing to lower them to come back to England. He's still a decent age, Ruben Neves. He was fantastic in the Club World Cup. He's been fantastic for Portugal. Maybe he hasn't got the legs that we're missing in midfield, but I think technically he's good. I mean, Ruben Neves for 17 million, I'm not really going to say no unless he asks for ridiculous wages. Decent player, much better than a Diddy, much better than Loftus-Cheek. I know he's playing in Saudi, but I think this is one worth exploring. I would prefer someone that can play as a 6 rather than someone that can play as an 8, and Neves can play as an 8. But yeah, he's a good player. Talking of a player that, look, he's an alright player, but I just don't think he's what Man United need, is Loftus-Cheek. Loftus-Cheek's name has been floated in recent days as a secret midfield option for Man United. However, there's no contact between them. Cool, Roman cleared up. Boom. Other news is coming out talking about Amarin's treatment of the academy. And one of the weirdest things Amarin did was he took Xerxes off for Fletcher and played Fletcher on the right wing. Now, Fletcher was poor that game, but Fletcher is not a right winger. Jack Fletcher is more of a box-to-box midfielder. We had a good right winger on the bench in Shea Lacey, who he didn't bring on, who we saw Dan Fletcher bring on, and was actually quite bright versus Burnley, almost scored a brilliant goal. And maybe it's because Amarin never watched the academy. He didn't realise that maybe Lacey was a right winger and Fletcher wasn't. Midfield source said Amarin did not attend a single academy match during his 14 months as United head coach. He was briefly watched a part of one behind closed door game at Carrington. Amarin rarely engaged directly with the academy in person, and first team coach Emmanuel Ferro attended one academy match earlier in the season at Old Trafford, which was against Man City. Now, I know that Amarin did attend academy match because there was pictures of Amarin having an academy match where Jack Morehouse had an absolute masterclass versus Southampton. Unless that is the behind closed door one at Carrington that he briefly attended because it was next to where Man United were training. I think it's quite bad if a Man United manager doesn't go and watch the academy. And I think that probably explains why Amarin was playing, the weaker academy players and playing the weaker academy players out of position and actually giving the stronger academy players a chance and putting them in their position. I'm not sure. But I will say I know Amarin definitely went to at least one academy game. He didn't go to none. He did go to at least one because we saw pictures of him at that Jack Morehouse masterclass. And then last but not least, United have submitted an offer to sign Yisa Allo from Sheffield Wednesday. United faced competition from Chelsea and Liverpool, and scouts are impressed by his athleticism and long-term potential, and now has multiple options to consider. Laurie Whitwell also said via The Athletic that Chelsea are close to finalising a deal. We've got loads of good young left-backs. We've got Harry Amass, we've got Diego Leon. It's not the end of the world missing out on this guy, especially as he's behind Harry Amass in the pecking order for Wednesday. He is 2 years younger than Harry Amass, or is he 3 years younger? Harry Amass age. I mean, if Harry Amass, no, he's a year younger than Harry Amass. He's a year younger than Harry Amass, and Harry Amass is keeping him out the team at left back. So I don't mind if we miss out on him. Anyway, thank you for watching today's 10-minute roundup. See you next time. Bye.